Do you ever feel like there's someone around you who constantly acts like they're above everyone else? Someone who seems to think they're better, more important, or even entitled to special treatment? Well, there's a deeper reason for this behavior. In today's video, we're diving into the narcissist's need for superiority, the driving force behind their inflated sense of self, and how they use it to manipulate the world around them. This isn't just arrogance, it's a complex defense mechanism rooted in deep insecurity. So, if you've ever wondered why narcissists behave the way they do, you're about to get an eye-opening look into their psyche. Let's break it down. The root of superiority complex. Narcissists often project an image of superiority, but beneath that facade lies a deep insecurity. Their need to feel better than everyone else isn't just about arrogance, it's a defense mechanism. At their core, they constantly feel a sense of inadequacy, which drives them to inflate their sense of self-worth. By convincing themselves and others that they are inherently superior, narcissists try to shield themselves from feelings of vulnerability and fear of being exposed as imperfect. This inflated sense of superiority is their way of compensating for their inner turmoil. They need constant validation from external sources to maintain this fragile self-image. When that validation is threatened, it can lead to extreme behaviors such as belittling others, manipulating situations, or even using charm to control perceptions. But in reality, this need for external approval is a sign of how fragile their self-esteem really is. Narcissists rely on this superiority complex to maintain control over their environment and relationships. They make others feel small to feel big themselves. And this cycle of validation and insecurity keeps them trapped in a perpetual state of emotional imbalance. Understanding this dynamic is key to breaking free from their influence. Constant comparison. For a narcissist, the world is a never-ending race where the only way to feel good about themselves is by constantly comparing their worth to others. It's not just about winning, it's about making sure everyone else is losing. This comparison isn't a healthy competition, it's a tactic to boost their fragile sense of superiority. They will often elevate their own achievements, qualities, and appearance, while putting others down to maintain this false sense of dominance. Whether it's in conversations, social media, or in their daily lives, narcissists are always measuring themselves against others. And when they can't elevate themselves, they resort to diminishing those around them. They make subtle or not so subtle remarks to belittle others, to keep them in their place while reinforcing their own position on a higher pedestal. But this constant need to compare isn't a sign of true confidence, it's a reflection of deep insecurity. The narcissist is unable to see their own value, unless they can measure it against someone else's. This cycle of comparison keeps them trapped in a battle for superiority, never allowing them to truly feel at peace with themselves. And unfortunately, this constant comparison can leave those around them feeling devalued, manipulated, and emotionally drained. The need for admiration. For a narcissist, admiration isn't just a desire, it's a lifeline. It's the fuel that keeps their inflated sense of self burning. They crave constant validation from others to maintain the belief that they are special, superior, and deserving of the attention and praise. Without this constant stream of admiration, their fragile ego begins to crumble, and the insecurities they desperately try to hide start to surface. This need for validation drives almost everything they do. They seek out praise, whether it's through their appearance, accomplishments, or simply their presence in a room. It's not enough to just receive acknowledgement, it has to be excessive, constant, and public. Narcissists often go out of their way to surround themselves with people who will shower them with admiration, and they'll go to great lengths to make sure they're always the center of attention. When they don't get the admiration they crave, their reaction can be intense anger, frustration, or even withdrawal. It's a painful blow to their self-image, which is why they will do whatever it takes to get the recognition they feel they deserve. However, this need for constant admiration isn't just about pride, it's about an inner emptiness. Deep down, the narcissist doesn't feel as superior as they project. Their need for validation is a desperate attempt to convince themselves and others that they are enough. A false sense of entitlement. Narcissists often carry an inflated sense of entitlement, believing they deserve special treatment simply because they exist. They operate under the assumption that they are inherently deserving of the best, whether it's the best job, the most attention, or the finest privileges without having to earn it like everyone else. To them, rules are optional, and the norms that apply to others don't seem to apply to them. This sense of entitlement is rooted in their fragile self-esteem. They are so desperately trying to maintain their image of superiority that they convince themselves they should always be treated as exceptional, above the law, and beyond reproach. Whether it's cutting in line, demanding special treatment at work, or disregarding boundaries, the narcissist feels that they shouldn't have to play by the same rules everyone else does. After all, they believe they are better and therefore should be granted exceptions to the norm. When they don't get what they believe they deserve, the narcissist will often react with anger, frustration, or passive-aggressive behavior. They see any form of inequality as a personal attack on their worth. This false sense of entitlement keeps them in a cycle of unrealistic expectations, where they're constantly chasing after admiration and privileges that they feel are owed to them, ultimately leaving them disconnected from reality and often creating frustration in those around them. Devaluation of others. B. In their relentless pursuit of superiority, narcissists often resort to devaluing and belittling others. This tactic is a defense mechanism designed to preserve their inflated self-image and ensure that no one threatens their sense of being better or more important. They can't stand the thought of someone surpassing them or receiving the attention they crave, so they attack others' worth to diminish any perceived competition. Narcissists will subtly or not so subtly undermine others' confidence, criticizing their appearance, abilities, or accomplishments. They might make snide remarks, spread rumors, or use sarcasm to make the other person feel inferior. The goal is simple: to ensure that others stay in a subservient position, reinforcing the narcissist's belief that they are at the top of the social hierarchy. By devaluing others, narcissists create a false narrative where they appear superior and everyone else seems inadequate. This not only boosts their fragile ego, but also maintains a toxic power dynamic where they stay in control. However, this constant need to belittle others often leads to broken relationships and a growing sense of emptiness, as no true connection can be formed in a world where one person is always put down to make another feel better. Grandiosity as a defense mechanism. At the core of a narcissist's grandiose self-image lies a deep-rooted defense mechanism. The exaggerated sense of superiority and importance they project is not a true reflection of who they are, but rather a mask to shield their fragile ego from feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. Behind the facade of arrogance and entitlement, the narcissist harbors intense fears of being exposed as weak or unworthy. Their grandiosity serves as a protective shield, an emotional armor they wear to prevent others from seeing the vulnerability beneath. They amplify their accomplishments, talents, and status, often exaggerating or fabricating details to build an image of perfection. The more they inflate their self-image, the more they can distance themselves from the painful reality of their own insecurities. This constant need to elevate themselves above others is driven by a fear of being seen as insignificant or inferior. To the narcissist, admitting weakness or imperfection feels like a threat to their survival. So they construct a larger-than-life persona, clinging to it as a way of masking their deepest fears. But in truth, the grandiosity they project is nothing more than a fragile shell, ready to crack under the pressure of their own self-doubt, using power to dominate. For narcissists, power is more than just a tool. It's a means to assert their superiority and control others. Driven by their inflated sense of self, they are constantly seeking positions of influence where they can manipulate, dominate, and enforce their belief that they are above everyone else. This need for power stems from their desire to maintain their false image of invincibility and control the narrative around them. By wielding power, narcissists feel validated, as it reinforces their belief that they are special, deserving of admiration, and entitled to command respect. Whether in the workplace, social settings, or personal relationships, they manipulate situations to place themselves in positions where they can dictate terms and outcomes. Their superiority complex allows them to justify using others as pawns to maintain their dominance, often disregarding the well-being and emotions of those around them. When narcissists gain power, it becomes an extension of their ego, a way to prove they are untouchable, above reproach, and deserving of everything they desire. However, this often comes at the expense of others, who may be controlled or dismissed in the process. For narcissists, using power to dominate is not just about control, it's about reinforcing their own sense of self-worth, even if it means exploiting those around them. The downfall of superiority. While narcissists may appear outwardly confident and self-assured, their relentless need for superiority often carries a heavy, unseen cost. The facade of perfection that they work so hard to maintain is fragile. Beneath the surface, the constant pressure to uphold their inflated self-image leads to emotional emptiness and isolation. The higher they climb to maintain their sense of superiority, the more they distance themselves from genuine human connections, as they view others as either inferior or a threat to their status. Their need to be better than everyone else drives them to push away relationships that could offer true emotional connection. They constantly seek admiration, but the deeper need for validation never truly gets satisfied. Over time, narcissists may find themselves surrounded by people who admire their image, but no one truly knows them for who they are. As they isolate themselves from authenticity and vulnerability, a sense of loneliness begins to creep in, even though they remain surrounded by others. Ultimately, this internal struggle for validation, perfection, and control leads to a dangerous downfall. Narcissists realize too late that their obsessive need for superiority has not only isolated them, but has also left them emotionally bankrupt, alone in their pursuit of an unattainable image. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth content on narcissistic behaviors and personal growth. Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And remember, if you're ready to break free from toxic relationships or understand yourself better, you're not alone. Stay tuned for more content that helps you reclaim your power and build healthier connections.